So, in this podcast, we're going to share with you some of the funny things which have happened over the past couple of months while creating UnderstandingE, and insight into what's been going on behind the scenes, and a chance for me and Dave to reflect. And some of the things which we're going to be covering with you, we're going to be covering our wins and our failures, and some of the funny things which have happened along the way, the distractions which we've had, and the confidence which we found between the pair of us. And we'll also be sharing you the one question which we've been asked the most, and also share with you some of our plans post-January, or January the 1st in the launch. And this is really both me and Dave letting our hair down, because the past couple of weeks have been absolutely crazy, but fairly enjoyable, and this is us sharing our mini startup adventure with you. Right then, Dave. Sorry, guys.
That was a good intro. I enjoyed that.
Sweet.
Nailed it.
So, right, on to our wins. That intro.
Get that on there. That's a one-timer.
Indeed. Let me start this one off. And this is thanks to actually Dave, is that we've been coined a new term. And that new term is a degree in nerd. So, and I still laugh at it now. And this nerd appears in a large number of the guides, and it's actually even been nicked off Twitter as well, which I saw this morning. Where something gets nerdy is that it doesn't have to be that way, does it, Dave?
No, it doesn't, and it's something that, for you. I mean, in our little relationship, you're the nerd, and I'm, the total layman. I know a little bit of HTML. And as soon as you start talking JavaScript at me, I'm like, nerd alert. No, don't get it. Don't get it. And it's and that's what we've tried to incorporate. So whenever you see a nerd alert, you know that actual human description and explanation is on its way, and we'll break it down.
Indeed, and something which we haven't put in our notes here is that what we tried to do is that we're using the degree in nerd to point out that it might be a bit complicated, and that we are going to go and numb it down into plain English so that anybody can pick it up. And that's the kind of ethos for the whole third generation, is to try and keep it in plain English so it's actually doable.
Yeah, definitely.
So some of the other fun stuff which we've had, or wins, and a big one, I think that's for both of us, isn't it, Dave? We've spoken to a lot of cool people over the last couple of months, haven't we?
We've spoken to some really cool people. I mean, and, we've spoken to some big names. I mean, we remember when we accidentally ended up chatting to one of the founders of Magento before it was bought by eBay?
Completely by accident.
That was crazy. We've spoken to people all over the world, in California, over in America, in Australia, and then Jim down in wherever he is. He can be in Saigon or Thailand or the Philippines. He's all over the place.
He was in Bangkok this morning when I spoke to him.
Amazing. But, I mean, and not only just those guys, but the true sort of stealing the Gary Vaynerchuk and the hustlers, the entrepreneurs, like we've heard from Gurpreet and Shmuley from Feedvisor, and Alex and Nigel and Ian, and two Johns, John from Bamford and the email guru John Hayes.
We haven't published this podcast yet. That's yet to come out, isn't it?
There's a few that we've got this fantastic bank of podcasts. So, I've got Andy from Flubbit, and I don't even think we've published Jim's from Magento. And that's a fantastic podcast.
Yeah, there's a story about that one in a minute. Oh, and Simon?
Yes, Simon from Simple Service. But I was going to say Jono and his story from leaving the BBC. That's, again, it's a fantastic entrepreneur story, turning your back on the BBC to start up on your own.
Indeed, and it was it the director of the BBC, one of the directors of the BBC? It's actually his title which is used on the list, on the actual article.
Yeah, it's
Jono,
the news guys. Yeah,
yeah. What was it called? Yeah, go and find it.
We had John on Skype one evening whilst I was editing it, and he was firing over these titles he was suggesting for it, and I was like, John, where are you getting these from? And it was, I'm not sure it was a director, but it was one of the head news not the news readers, what the news publishers, I believe, who were coming up with these titles. The title was John goes from BBC TV News Journal to socking it to them on eBay. And the pun there was he sells socks and that's a hosiery. So it was a fantastic title, very clever title.
Indeed. So some of those you wouldn't have heard of yet, they're coming out and we will get them published over the next couple of weeks. I think we've got a bank of like 4 or 5 of them which haven't been published yet. So to listen out for those. We also, on the wins front as well, now this could be classed as like a failure to the outside world, but we were passed an email from a certain company beginning with CA, and because this certain company does cheat sheets on all the other different software providers, and what they had actually written down for UnderstandingE, which was that, would you trust one bloke in his blog? Now, that was absolutely hilarious to us, because we know for a fact that they trust 1.5 blokes and their blog for most of their UK marketing campaign. So that was absolutely hilarious. And in fact, I'll include the tweet underneath this podcast as well, so you can see the reply now. But
it was just a case of us being, well, in my opinion, fantastically underestimated.
Indeed.
And I enjoy that. I think that's brilliant. Underestimate us all day long.
Indeed. And ultimately, it was nice to be recognised as well.
Even if they did get your name wrong.
Yeah, horribly wrong. And that was my main point. At least spell my name right if you're going to slate me when you're doing it. But on the positive side, it was really nice to be recognised. Oh, and also on our list of topics here is that I dare you to try and get this one past your wife in the winter, which was that I actually chose a new computer over a new central heating system. And the central heating system, which I've got here, blows itself out on a regular basis. So I've got a family, wife and 2 kids, and it can be a bit nippy in this house at times because the boiler's been blown out. But we've got an epic computer now. I think it renders about 30 minutes worth of full HD video. So that's one of the video guides in about 12 minutes and 7 seconds. And that's me with my little nerd hat on there because I timed it to see how long it would take.
The sad thing is, spare a thought for Matt's family this Christmas who have to gather round his computer for the amount of heat it throws out.
Yeah, I'm in my office right now with a hoodie on and I need to take it off because it's so hot in here. It's unreal. Oh, and also the DPD track, and I annoyed the living daylights out of you with that as well.
That was a funny day. Every time the doorbell went, computer's here, I'm running off, and it wasn't. It was your neighbour, it was Andy, I think, next door. And then you were giving me, like, updates from the tracking from the courier website saying, oh, he's just on the main road. He's about 15 minutes away.
Indeed. Oh, he's down to his 100th delivery. I'm only 121. It'll be here any minute.
It's like, that's great, Matt, because I know as soon as that arrives, that's you disappearing for 2 hours to go and build it.
Indeed. And I shot the living daylights out of a double glazing salesman on the door because I went, woo! And then, oh, it's you. To him. Oh, anyway. Oh, yeah. And we had another win in the background as well. My mum started a business of her own, selling beanbags, and in the background, I've been whipped an e-commerce site up for her and been running it as an unpaid consultant for the last 3 months as well. It's done really well. I'm actually genuinely surprised and giving insight to my parents that they're both well retired now, into their 70s, and my mum's been the start of a business. I'm being quite shocked.
Yeah. So when's that invoice getting sent out, Matt? Is that?
Oh, I think I ate it on box.
yeah, there it is. Payment through food, was it? Got you.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh, and the one guide which stands out a mile for me, and I'm sure it does for you as well, Dave, because we spent about 2, maybe 3 hours just trying to get this one guide done. And that guide was something to do with a tool called MagMe. Now, if you've never heard of MagMe before, then MagMe is like the Swiss Army knife of import tools for Magento, but you really do need a degree in nerd to actually use it. So that was one of the challenges which we identified really early on in UnderstandingE and when we were putting the different components together. So that we reskinned it and I built an installer package to it, but I had a bit of a failure because I didn't keep a complete backup of all the files. And I overwrote them, and a big hat tip here to the guys over at Simple Service. They restored a backup from about 1 o'clock in the morning, the night before, and we got it working, but it took us about 5 attempts. And I remember, personally getting really flustered with this one.
Yeah, and just to give everyone an insight here, the guides really do vary. You'll listen to them, and we'll come on to the early ones in a bit and how I don't feel they're as good as the later ones. But generally, some guides we could knock out in 10 minutes. We'll do them in one take and it'll just be done. And then you get these problem guides where, for whatever reason, I stumble, Matt stumbles, something doesn't sound right, feel right, and we end up having to redo them over and over again. And the number of times that I've heard, there'll just be an awkward pause after a segment and Matt go, shall we do this one again? And it's like, yes, we need to do this one again.
We need to do that one again. But after about 5 attempts, and it wasn't until it took me about an hour and 20 minutes to edit that one up. And actually, at the end, it's turned out to be one of the best guides we've ever done.
Oh, it's a fantastic guide. It's an important guide too, because Magmi is going to be so critical for what we're going to be doing with UnderstandingE. But it was a pain to get it right.
And that installer. But that's been a huge win for us to get that one guide done, because it was the guide from hell.
Yeah, it was.
Now, on to our failures list. We had a bit of a fail because I'd actually arranged for my family to go away to Malta for a week in the first week of December.
Was it December?
Was it December or late November? I forget now.
I think it was November.
All right, in November. And we'd planned to start recording the guides then. And that was going to be our week where I'd cleared all the decks down and we were going to get in there and start recording these guides. And it didn't happen. And it didn't happen because we'd kind of underestimated the amount of effort it would need to get the admin theme for Magento to an acceptable level. And it was just tweak after tweak after tweak. And again, another massive hat tip there to the guys over at Design Hub. And they were fixing stuff. I was finding stuff. I was changing stuff myself. And what we've got now is, I'm going to use like inverted commas for okay. It's great for us to go live on January the 1st, but I do envisage there's going to be quite a large number of edits post that with different browsers and people with the other extensions, and it's just not being versatile enough. And again, that's just down to it not being out into the wilds enough. And again, I've got quite an eagle eye for the small details, but as soon as it hits the outer wilderness, then it's going to need some updates as well. And plus, I annoyed the living daylights out of you with my Domino's pizza deliveries too, didn't I?
Yeah, that was so annoying, because for anyone who is self-employed, or as you can imagine, you have a sort of a degree of freedom. And when I went self-employed, I made all these false promises that I was going to do exercise and eat right and all the rest of it. Yeah, and I was really reinvigorated myself that, I need to sort my life out, I'll do some exercise, I'll eat properly. So there's nothing more annoying than me sat here, I was eating carrots at the time, I think.
And you've been crunching on for the last couple of weeks.
I've been crunching, like snacking on carrots. And you had 2 massive Domino's pizzas delivered. You were on the webcam, and I was ready for just for running away and going hiding somewhere, because there's nothing I would have eaten more.
I even tagged you on Facebook in one of them.
Yes, you did. Yeah, it was really kind of you.
Yeah, that was right. Oh, and then Bob the dog, and you might hear him join this podcast as well.
It's like our third member.
Yeah, it's a third member
of UnderstandingE.
Of UnderstandingE, and you'll hear him in a couple of the guides as well, quite quietly in the background.
Yeah, I've done my best to get rid of him, but he's there when he's over. He's barking over you talking. I can't get rid of him.
And then when we're on speakers to each other, and then Bob the dog will go and bark in the background, and Scooby in the background goes,
yeah, my dog then kicks off as well. Oh, who's here? No, Scooby, calm down. Yeah.
Indeed. Oh, and also one of the guides has got one of my daughters in the office with me on that as well as we're recording it, and she was good as gold as well. What else do we have on the failure front? Oh, I broke the website.
Broke the website.
Yeah, but not once. I did it twice. And I lost all the theme customizations as well. And oh, no. Oh, and the other one is that Plus did an upgrade, and that's broken at the moment as well. And I need to sort that out, because that's on our to-do list, and I need to do that for one of the projects which we're working on at the moment.
Yeah, that might be handy, yeah. I mean, one of my favourite fails was when you sent an email to
no.
how many was it? About just over 1,000 people?
No, it was way more than that.
Was it more than that?
It was way more than that.
And you didn't put the correct tag in, so instead of inserting their names, it just said hello name or hi name. Amazing.
I got my head in my hands right now. Because
that's almost a win, because you actually got a free T-shirt out of that as well, which is amazing.
I did, and the annoying thing is that's not the first time I've done that before as well. Because I remember you saying at the time, "Oh, you won't do that again, will you?"
And you're like, "No." I've already done it
for it. But we did get a free T-shirt from MailChimp because that actual account I needed to get upgraded and turn it into a paid account. And there was a nice little surprise there. I got a free T-shirt from MailChimp, which turned up a couple of days ago. So thanks, guys, for that. And I still high-five the screen as well. That when you are using MailChimp and you send a mail out...
A MailChimpers joke, this.
Yeah, and there's this little hand on there which says high fives. And I go, high five to the screen. But I'm special, and I know it.
And he's not ashamed to admit it.
Indeed. Oh, and what about the 14, I can't say the word which we've written on here, the 14 mistakes. Yeah, that's the correct word, screw-ups, not the other word.
So what had happened there is, for anyone, again, who you won't know this because we sort of tried to keep this quiet, but now's a good time to tell you. We had recorded 14 of the first guides, so you may be listening to this after January the 1st and the guides are up. It's the setup guides for getting Magento installed. And we actually discovered after, I think it was on the 15th guide, that there was this horrible audio. I don't know, it wasn't an error, but it was
a hum.
A feature. Yeah, it was a hum whenever, and it was on your microphone or mine?
It was on mine.
On yours. And we were listening to them, and every time Matt was speaking, there was this very faint but very noticeable hum in the background. And we had to have that awkward conversation where it was, do we just carry on and sort of and try and ignore it, or do we do what we think we have to do and just re-record everything?
Yeah, and that day I wanted to cry. My eyes were red because there was 14 really hard guides. They were the first ones which we did, and I was welling up in it. It was not a good day.
It was frustrating. And just put this in perspective, the guides may look basic because we're doing like the beginning stuff, but the logistics that goes into it, like we actually had to go and buy simple servers, a domain and a hosting account, and all that footage was useless because the audio was wrong. It was,
I was almost in tears for that, and that's probably been the most gut-wrenching failure that we've been.
That was a hard one. But on the next day, we basically were two men on a mission. We sat down, we got the headphones in, and I think we recorded something incredible, like 15 or 14 videos in one day. We did 15
because we did the 14 which we'd been and done,
then the
extra one on top.
Yeah. So, and that was just a case that it had to be done. We weren't happy. Matt's a perfectionist. I'm not quite a perfectionist, but I'm not far off. And I wouldn't have been happy, and Matt certainly wouldn't have been happy in leaving the audio as it was. Mm-hmm. So we did what we had to do. We didn't have a choice. As is a common theme here, we had our backs against the wall and we had to do something about it.
Yeah, just like, all right, let's go and do it.
Let's do it.
Right. So, Dave, on to some of the funny things. And tell me about how do we make a table in Google Docs? I'm not too sure. Can you just tell us how we might do that?
To be honest, Matt, it's one of those things. There isn't actually an icon for a table in Google Docs. So the way that I do it, firstly, is spend 20 minutes creating a table in Word, in Microsoft Word, and then pasting it across only so it doesn't format right. And then I spend 30 minutes drawing a table with lines to try and make it look like a table. So that's a grand total of about 50 minutes wasted building this silly, stupid table, only to then realise, looking up, that right next to the tools word is the word table. There's a whole thing, there's a whole bloody drop-down for table. Insert table. I'm looking at it now. And I missed that. And wasted my life. And it's been an ongoing thing now that whenever we need to put a table in a slide, Matt goes, how do we make slides? How do we make tables in Google Drive? And I said, oh, no, I just made it in Word and copied it across.
But it had me going as well, because I was looking for these little icons to build a table.
Exactly. I was looking for a nice little table box, like near the font thing, or near, the alignment tools.
Like in WordPress.
Exactly. And it just wasn't there. So I thought, well, that's, you think, oh, well, Google Drive, it's free software, can't expect the world from it, even though it is a fantastic piece of software and has been fantastic for what we're doing. But yeah, just a quick note, if anyone wants to make a table in Google Drive, then just on the top toolbar near File, Edit and View, second in from the left is Table, and you can insert a table there. And it's fantastic.
For it as well.
God.
And then what was the other funny one as well? We had a bit of a lisp on my microphone, and I
it was almost like a slight echo.
Indeed. And we solved that by putting a dirty sock on top of my microphone, which I have to admit it's still on there today.
Yeah, Matt just replaces it with the sock he's previously been wearing every day. Just keep it semi-fresh.
But it really works. I was just give it a punt. I remember watching this video guide, I think it was with Pat Flynn, on podcasting, and he'd had this great big foam thing on the end of his microphone. I thought, hang on, all it's doing is just catching filtering. So I wonder if a sock works, and plonk. That works a treat. So that's why the sound quality gets better later on in the day. It's because
we're talking through a sock.
Because we're talking through a sock.
I'm not talking through a sock, granted.
And Dave, tell everybody about your pink monitor, and you being a man.
This was right. Every bloke listening to this will know the exact situation and will hopefully sympathise with me. My Mrs. Laura came up to me with a nail varnish that she'd just bought and she couldn't get the top off. And she said those words, "Can you try and get it off?" Well, that's just a man test. Mm-hmm. She couldn't. I'm a man. It's our jobs to get the lids off things. So I was wrenching on this nail varnish and it was having none of it. And then I looked at it, could see that it had been, with the screw top, it had been threaded wrong and it got caught. So I had a small screwdriver lying around on my desk and I sort of wedged it in the lid. I was trying to just prise up the little plastic, lip so it went up to the right thread it should be on. And as I prised it, the whole neck of the bottle snapped and the lid went flying. So, and just to make matters worse, this was pink glittery nail varnish, and this lid went flying off towards the monitors. I've got two towards the monitors, and sort of splattered the mouse, the keyboard, both monitors, the desk, the microphone, and a large part of my hand was coated in pink nail varnish. And Laura's trying her best not to laugh as she sees this sort of red mist descend on me. I'm like, argh! So I then spend 10 minutes with acetone-free nail varnish remover, wiping every bit of my monitor. I can still see it now. There's still pink glitter on the Y and the B key on the keyboard, and that was a fun
Dave, do you type to us and write to us with a pink glittery keyboard?
I can confirm that is true. Yeah.
Right.
And I know people listen to this, especially Carl, who I used to work with. He's going to deduct me man points for that. But yes, there is pink glitter on my keyboard and mouse at this current situation.
Oh, and what was the other funny one? Jim from Magento. So that 30-minute podcast, which we were supposed to be doing, I think it turned into a 2-hour conversation with bar recommendations and something about me losing my shorts along the way as well.
Interesting story, yeah. Now, the podcast with Jim hasn't been published yet, but when it is, listen for the last 30 seconds of the recording, because that's when I'm going to throw in all the bloopers and random things that happened in that podcast. I mean, Jim's a fantastic guy. It was like, I think it may be the second or third time we spoke to him, and it's like you've known him all your life. And we were chatting about where he'd been, and he was giving you bar recommendations for next time you go to Malta, and He actually gave us an open invitation to go and see him out in Saigon, down in Vietnam, wherever he is currently.
Yeah, and I saw that on Top Gear a couple of days back, and it was really nice. Yeah, we've got to go.
2014, we're going to try and go see Jim. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to turn up. Hi, Jim.
Happy days. Yeah,
so we've had some funny experiences over these past few months.
Indeed. Now, onto a slightly more serious note, that we've had a distraction each as well. I actually got invited to go and work with one of the big marketplaces, which was probably one of the toughest decisions which I've had over the past couple of months. And Dave, you were almost poached to go and work at a leading children's toy manufacturer as the head of e-commerce for them in the UK.
Yeah, that was a tough one. It was on LinkedIn. Someone approached me on LinkedIn and said I would be perfect for this role. And it was for a very world-renowned toy company with, imagine a head of e-commerce. You imagine that would be quite a nice title and position to take. But yeah, that was a tough one to not sort of try and follow up on.
Indeed, and also going on slightly down in a tact here as well, some true natures of people that have been appeared. Somebody which has not a vested interest, actually got quite intrusive to the point in time that I'm actually just ignoring them. Some other people have started to show their true colours, but on the flip side to that, the one or two people which I had personally expected to change their tact because of what we're doing with the UnderstandingE in the third generation didn't, and in fact in many ways have actually seen what we're doing and why we're doing it, and have actually been extremely positive about what we're doing. So on the flip side, we've had some awkward pieces and some very awkward conversations, but on the other side, the true friends which have been out there have actually come out now, and we've seen what's going on.
I think the interesting one as well, Matt, is a lot of people who I speak to, they see that we're doing something that's never been done before, and it's really easy for them to critique it and tell us why we shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that you shouldn't tell me, and I know for sure you shouldn't tell you, is tell us that we can't go and do something.
Because I'm blatantly going to go and do it, and I know you
say left, we're going to go right, and we're just going to go and do it anyway.
Exactly.
And that is the sort of attitude that we've had to take with UnderstandingE. Most people have been really excited and have got it quite quickly about what we're doing and how it's different. But some people are, a bit reservist and can't see because it doesn't exist yet. Mm-hmm. And, they say, oh, it won't work. Well, we're just going to go and make it work.
And what about this and what about that? And again, I'm going to turn around and look at my whiteboard and I can see there's two really nasty things on there and I don't know the answers to it. But I'm dealing with open source code, and with my methodology, I can get them answered. It won't be perfect, but I can get to a solution. Again, I'm turning around looking at my whiteboard and yeah, they are really ugly, but I know what I'm dealing with, and I know that even if I can't solve those, let's just cover worst case scenario, that they cannot be done in Magento, then there's going to be third-party software which is going to allow it to happen. So I won't cover what those are because I may actually solve them in the next month or two. But
we're just going to say if we can't find an answer through Magento, then due to the type of people that myself and Matt are, we're going to go and find you an answer one way or the other.
Yeah, and again, this is the whole third generation, is that we have a set of tools at our disposal and at your disposal as well. And it's finding the right answer. And again, if we've got this little list, and I'm going off topic here, is that we've got a list of all the cool things that we believe should be in Magento. And we've had a couple of those coded up. Mm-hmm. If you go to Amazon, for example, when you're in Amazon Seller Central, and again, I don't mind sharing this one because it's going to go out in our Magento store, which is about number 12 on my to-do list, or on our to-do list to get done, which is that when you go into Seller Central, and the one thing which I like about Seller Central on Amazon is that when you're dealing with a variation product, they've got this little plus symbol next to it. And when you hit plus, it will expand all the associated products, all the variations. But that's missing from Magento, and it drove me nuts. Like, why can't this be in here? And the answer was, yes, it can be in here, and I've been and had it coded. Wasn't cheap, but it works, and it also works with the grids extension as well, and it's going to just make your life easier for it. So we'll show you that in a couple of weeks' time as well. So that brings us on to another topic here as well, Dave, which is that something which both me and you have done and grown in over the past couple of months, and that word is confidence.
Yeah, and I hadn't noticed this purely because, we've been living UnderstandingE for the past 3 or 4 months, or 4 or 5 months now, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's only been today when we've started editing up some of the first guides that we did. And I can see the difference between how I sounded back then and how I sound now.
Indeed, you were quite timid and quite quietly spoken.
I think, there was a part of me which, this was all very new. And I mean, I'd done podcasts before, but this was for guides, and I felt that it had to be quite serious and professional, which, it is. But I think I've learned that I can be more me. And, with me and you, we have this natural sort of rapport that we can go off on topic and just be ourselves, and it's still professional, and that's where most of the value comes from, is us being us.
Indeed, and one thing which I noticed today, especially when I've been editing the really early guides, is that I've been asking for acceptance as we were going through. That I would say, you then click continue, okay, and I was asking for acceptance as we went through. And another one for me as well is that I've learned to let go, because Dave can do an ace job of what he's doing. And again, I think I gave you a 30-minute rundown of how to use Audacity, which is an audio editing piece of software, and you've probably got better skills than what I have now from it, because you've been edited so much over the last couple of weeks.
That's very kind of you to say. I wouldn't, I maybe wouldn't go that far, but between us, we've managed to. I've definitely learnt a lot, and it's been fantastic. Audacity is now a great tool.
Indeed. So some of the things which we've been and learnt. Number one is to slow down in what we're doing, because Dave's seen this firsthand, and you'll see this in some of the guides. And I edited one this morning where I was quite excitable as we were doing it, because I'm quite an excitable person. And it doesn't take much for me to go off onto a bender. And the biggest one which I've learned is to slow down and take the time to stress specific points, not to wash over something which I might think is small, because it's actually the small stuff which really matters. Mm. One of the other things which we've learned to do is to chuck in a nerd alert where required as well. And there's this bloke with these geeky glasses on a lot of the slide decks which we've been using as a base. And we covered this earlier as well, Dave, didn't we? Which is that it's okay to have to edit a guide more than once, or to redo a guide more than once.
Oh, no, of course it is. And I think, we when we launch the UnderstandingE in the next few days, there'll be. I already know there's several guides which I'll want to do again. I'm sure you'll want to do again. So. And then when we've recorded them, we might need to go in and edit them a few times to make them sound right. But the end goal is always the same. It has to be as good as we can make it. And like I said, if we have to go and edit something 2 or 3 times, then we have to go and edit it 2 or 3 times.
Indeed, and again, I kind of said this from the beginning as well. What we've actually built now with the guides is we're using phase 1 for UnderstandingE, when we'll discuss that in a few moments, but all the video guides, they are actually version 1, and we're using Vimeo on purpose to hold the video guides, because we can, if we do make a change, and we strongly encourage the feedback, and we know that you're going to have a load of feedback for us, and it's something which we're humble enough to accept, and we're actively encouraging throughout any of the guides as well, is that we know that the vast majority of the base guides which we've done will need to be recorded just based upon your feedback.
Yeah, and don't be too harsh with your feedback in the first few. I'm new to this.
For it, no. Please be as harsh as possible. If you think it's crap, tell us. But be descriptors. Tell us why you don't think it's that good. Another thing which we've learned, which is that
1 second. Telling Matt he has a Bristolian accent isn't really the best type of feedback.
No,
know this. Sorry, man, that just came into my head. I was like, that's perfect for this podcast.
Yeah, don't be insultive, please. You'll get back. Yeah, you'll get that Bristolian sarcasm, which some people just don't get, and I don't think that person's ever going to get it, Mr. LEDs. Anyway, that changing topic is that something which we've learned from TV programs, which they work to a simple three-stage process, which is that tell the listener, i.e. you, what we're going to be covering, then go and cover it, and then tell them what we covered. And it seems to work really well, doesn't it, Dave?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it's funny because as soon as you told me, I'd not heard this before, but as soon as you told me that method, whenever you're watching TV or anything, you start to see it more and more. There's an introduction, then they cover it, and then they summarise what they've covered. And I think there's a reason why they do it. It must work. So we adopted it for the guides, and hopefully it will work for us and for you too.
We also learn to overstretch ourselves. And what we mean by that is to aim really, really high. Get to it, and Dave's taken the pee out of me so many times that, how did you go from 100 people to 1,000 people? And then I explained what the thinking was. Well, look, if you're going to do 100 people, you might as well just go up to 200, but you might as well call that 250 because that sounds better.
And then you're like, well, 250, you may as well, he just went in a loop then. 250, you may as well just double it up to 500. Well, if you're going to do 500, you might as well do 750. Well, 750 is pretty close to 1,000, isn't it? And it's like, whoa, we just jumped from 100 to 1,000 people.
Yeah, why not?
Mental.
But the point is that it's for us to, because we're working for ourselves, and if we don't overstretch ourselves, and if we don't aim ridiculously high, and again that goes for you listening to this as well, is that if you don't set really ambitious targets, then there's no way that you're going to get out of your comfort zone, because the thinking behind doing something for 100 people is completely different to doing something for 1,000 people. It makes you think differently. And again, I think that, Dave, that's something you're picking up from my mind, and that the way in which I work is that I've got to be out of my comfort zone. That if you don't aim high, then you're just going to do mediocre. And I don't want to do something which is just mediocre. I want to do something which is not just good. I want to do something which is great. And that's the reason why I'm
wanted to do. Yeah, sorry, Matt. But what you came to me originally with, with Understanding back in March or May, whenever it was when we spoke, and you basically just said, I want to change the world.
I think I said that, didn't I?
You did. You said, I remember it. I remember where we were sat outside a coffee shop in Bristol on the sun. That
was really nice. I remember the day now.
Yeah. And you said, this is going to change the world. And that is aiming higher than high. We are going to change the world. And I now believe that we truly will change the world because of what we've been doing over the past few months and what we're going to continue to do over the next few years. And yeah, we're aiming high. We're overstretching ourselves. We've worked ridiculously long hours. I got shouted at on Christmas Day for writing articles.
The only 2 days which I've not even touched the computer on for the last 4 or 5 months was Christmas Day and Boxing Day. So it's good to hear that you were having a stab, because
I was doing a bit, but you'd put in far more early mornings and late nights than I have. So, but yeah, and it is you because we are sort of emotionally invested in this now. We have to aim high, and if we don't get to the target and we fall just short, that's still a hell of an achievement.
Indeed. And we've also learned that what we are trying to achieve cannot be done overnight. And what we're trying to do is a marathon. We're not trying to do a sprint. We're not trying to do a quick win. What we are looking to do is to change the world of e-commerce for the better. And the thing is that cannot be done overnight. It's going to take time. And we're not just thinking January the 1st. January the 1st is just a target for us. It was so ridiculously aggressive for us to go from nothing to where we are right now. And again, this is me and Dave letting our hair down because it's been a manic couple of months. We set such an aggressive target, which was January the 1st. We've kind of failed on one of the sides, which is the number of users. But again, we've got plan A in place for that. Plan B was nice and easy, and it always was plan B. But plan A is the hardest plan of them all, because that's the one which takes the most amount of effort. It's going to take the most amount of time. but it will come with the most amount of results for everybody, especially you, over a long period of time. And that's what we're after. We're not thinking of quick wins. We're not just thinking of 2014. We're thinking of 2015, 16, 17 and 18, because that's how long it's going to take to get traction in the environment which we're in. And again, these marketplaces change. What we're dealing with is going to change. We know that. And the easiest way for us to deal with change, and for you as well, is just to embrace it. Just let it happen. If you can't change it personally, screw it. Just live with it. And that's what we're doing. And we know certain things are going to change about UnderstandingE over the next couple of months and over the next couple of years as well.
I mean, if we look back at how version 1 of these guys look in 2 years' time, I bet they'll be completely different. eBay will have changed things, and Magento will have changed things, and we'll have to redo things to, redo guides and videos to represent these changes. We know that. And it's funny because so many people over the past few days and weeks have said, oh, January the 1st is getting close, January the 1st is getting close. And it's like, yeah, it is. But I think I made a note in our notes somewhere that it feels like the end, but really it's just the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to that in a few moments as well. One of the other things which I've learned personally here as well is that the things which appear to be critical or urgent really rarely are. And for me and my personality, and again, if you're an entrepreneurial kind of person which is listening to this, then you'll know where I'm coming from. I have ideas all day long. I actually like, wow, I could turn that into a business. Oh, what if I did that? What happens if I did that? Oh, I could do that. And I'm such a scatterbrain at times. But what's actually happened over the last couple of months is that I've had all these ideas whizzing around, and I've just recorded them. I've just recorded them and put them onto one side and focused just on one project to its end, as in into its goal, which is for us January the 1st to get phase 1 of the guides out. And it's kind of scary, isn't it?
For me, this is the one thing which is incredible about Matt, and it's like when he focuses on one thing and one thing only, he takes it to a different level. He doesn't just do it to how it could be done or how 99% of people would do it. He takes it to the next. He puts it on steroids, and he does it. He just blows it away into a whole different thing. I mean, for people who know you, they'll know Widget Chimp and how some widget ideas came about, and you set up Widget Chimp. And then even while we've been talking through the past few months of UnderstandingE, you've probably come up with 2 or 3 more ideas which are perfect for Widget Chimp.
Yeah, there's like 17 more for that. I just don't have the time to code them.
There you go.
And that came from a different idea for doing something else with eBay stores.
And just the things within UnderstandingE as well. We've had, you went and built a listing template builder. Not because you thought, should we go and offer some basic... most people would say, we'll offer some basic files, some basic templates for people to download. No, that wasn't Matt Ogborn enough. He actually went and built a builder, so you could build your own template to customize it for you.
Oh, that's really cool. I like that. I'm proud of that one. Because you just stick your eBay ID and choose the options which you want. You can even customize like the shipping and the payment information at the bottom, and you press a button and you get the HTML code which you can literally copy from that page, put into your system, and then you end up with a listing template which has got dynamic categories. It's got your logo, it's got store search, it's got the image gallery for M2E Pro, it's got the bullet points which we show you as the best practice within Magento.
It's absolutely mental is what it is, because what you did was it's just incredible to think that you just took it to that whole different level. And that's what happens when you focus.
Indeed. Oh, and then we had the admin theme, which I do put my hands up that was most of my fault for that being late, because I was being picky.
No, but that was also your design as well, which is fantastically... another pro of Matt is the fact that he has fantastic knowledge about website usability and how things should look and what makes it easy and what works and what doesn't. So when you see the UE admin theme, that's purely Matt making things as nerd alert proof as possible.
Indeed, because it doesn't have to be complicated, and if it doesn't need to be, then let's dumb it down. Let's go and make it Matt proof. And I'll tell you what, my secret to this is that I think of my mum. Is that my mum's in her 70s. rarely uses a computer, and if it can get past the mum test, then anybody can use it. And that's kind of what we've been trying to do with the admin theme, is to try and work within the confines of Magento and what can and can't be done, but then to make like the delete button, the cancel, the refund button really, really obvious, because we know that it's going to not only just be you and your business which are using Magento and M2E Pro and the whole third generation, but it's also quite likely to be members of your staff, and that could be your wife or your partner, but it could be also like the warehouseman or somebody in customer support. So if it is a really dangerous button, then we make it stand out a mile. So absolutely. Oh, and an obvious one as well, which is this whole podcast in one great big nutshell, which is that just to relax and be ourselves and just dick around. It's what we know.
That's a Dave term right there, dick about.
Dick about, which is probably not the best term to use, but it's when we go off topic that we add the most value. So, for example, when we're doing a guide on, say, eBay item specifics, is that you'll have like the proper guide in the middle, but then at the end in the summary, that we'll do the summary, but then we go off on a slight little bender. It's in those benders where we become ourselves, and we've done like the education piece for this. And we become ourselves, and we start looking at eBay and Magento and M3 Pro, but as a larger perspective, and consider what it would mean to guys like you, or women just like you, which are listening to this right now.
Exactly, because me and you, Matt, have both worked with, using the example of item specifics, we've worked with fantastic businesses who maybe aren't using item specifics as well as they could do. We've told them what to do, and they see massive results. So, as sort of obnoxious as it sounds, we do sort of know what we're talking about. We've been there and we've seen the results of what we're telling you to do.
Indeed.
And that's where the value is. And it's like 2 consultants for free, Matt. That's what it is.
It is, but the other person, the other consultant which is in the room, which is you, which is listening to this right now, because we're here to give you a set of tools, and it's really up to you to make the most of it. And this is what makes, you could have 2 businesses selling keyboards and they've both got exactly the same products. But when those products get listed and marketed across the different marketplaces, is that you'll do them in 2 different styles, because they are 2 different people. They're 2 different personas doing the actual same product. And that's why ultimately one business will do better than another. It's because of the way of thinking which is sat behind it, genuinely with the actual business owners like you, which is listening to this right now, because one of them thinks differently to another. And it normally turns out that one of them has the right way of thinking and will keep to the minute detail, but he'll also let go as well. So anyway, we're going off into a different topic. All right, so
that was the podcast to do it.
Indeed. And Dave, the one question which we've both been asked the most, what was that?
This is you've probably been thinking it yourself if you've not asked us yet, and it's how are myself and Matt on UnderstandingE going to make money?
And the honest answer, we don't know. Right. So, Dave, how are we going to make...
That is not what you told me when I agreed to this.
Right. Well, I told you that if all goes tits up, we're going to stick it on Udemy for $30. So that's the exit strategy. And hope for the best for it. So, but no, on a more serious note.
Yeah, so on a serious note, it's a good question. And if you've thought this question, then you're clearly an entrepreneurial type of person. The basic answer is that myself and Matt are running UnderstandingE on an affiliate-based model. So for the services or products that we recommend, such as Magento, the extensions that Jim offers at Magento, or the hosting services by Simple Servers, if you follow a link from the UnderstandingE site or quote a discount code that we may have available, and you purchase from any of these people, we then get a kickback or a commission for recommending, for getting them the sale, for recommending you to the service or product that you've been and purchased. And that is how we envisage from day one of how this would make money for us. And let's be honest, we are running this business as a for-profit business. We do hope that it will make money. And to do this, we're doing it in a way where we don't want it to be restrictive. We've always said from day one, we want 0 barrier to entry. You look at the software providers that are out there currently, you're looking anywhere from £300 to £500 to £1,000 a month. And then some of them on top of that have a percentage of sales, which we see as a tax on growth. And we just wanted to knock down them barriers and make it as affordable as possible. And it doesn't get much more affordable than free.
Indeed, because part of the arrangement in which we've made with Simple Service, for example, is that not only did we want their great hosting, but also for part of that is that we wanted to make sure that the main barrier to entry, which is the web server hosting, was the barrier there was gone. And so we arranged with Simon over at Simple Service so that you get your first month free of web hosting. So literally for the cost of a domain name, which is about £8, you can follow all the guides through for a month. You can watch the entire site and you can be doing the 99% of everything which we'll show you through the whole UnderstandingE training guides, is that you can do it for free for a month, because, for £8, which is the cost of a domain name, or say $16 if you're in the United States, or about $21 if you're in Australia, so whatever the conversions is.
Yeah.
But we are working to a freemium model, which we think fits right now. We think that fits right because it goes back to being able to change the world of e-commerce forever. And one of the easiest ways for us to do that is to remove the barriers to entry. One of those is cost. The other big one, which I think, Dave, me and you have kind of overlooked in this, which is to remove the requirement for a nerd. Me and Dave can be your nerds in there, and we can show.
Not so much me. Don't rely on me that much.
Right. But we can show you the stuff which would. And again, I'm thinking back into March of this year. So in March 2013, I had. Well, I'd say because Dave, you weren't around at that point in time, but I had my back to the wall. We tried the different software providers out there. 2 of them were ruled out purely based on cost. We tried the third alternative, which is normally the natural path to go. It didn't fit my needs, and it didn't fit the client's needs either. And we were sat there like, what are we going to do? And that's where, we'll try Magento. Look, I know Magento backwards, and it can do everything you want it to do. Why don't we give this extension called M2E Pro a whirl? And we did. And it was like 3 weeks later, we'd sat there and we were drinking coffee, and we were like kind of both looking at each other. And we just said, did we just replicate eSeller Pro? And the answer was, yeah, pretty much. There's a few things which we're missing, but yeah, we're about 90% of the way there. And that's crazy. So, but to change the world of e-commerce is that we've got to remove barriers, and one of those is financial, and the other one is the education piece, the knowledge to it as well. The way which I look at UnderstandingE, and me and Dave and you as well, is that we're the missing piece of the puzzle. We'll show you how to do it. We'll put the different pieces in front of you, and it's like a template to follow. We don't have all the answers, and sadly we never will, but we'll be able to get you to the water, if you pretend you're a horse. So we'll take you to the water's edge, and it's up to you whether you embrace that and take that further. But the big one there is that, yeah, we are running right now on the affiliate model for it. We've got to kind of decide on a premium model as well. There's lots of other things which we would like to add in. And yeah, like I said, if it all goes Pete Tong, then we're going to just stick it on Udemy for $30 and we'll go and do something else. We'll go and work for a marketplace or something like that. Yeah. So that now brings us nicely on to our plans for post-January and the launch, because we're recording this on, what's the date today? 28th of December. So I don't even know what day of the week it is right now because I'm such a blur.
Today.
It's Saturday. Right, okay, which that tells me my partner is going to be coming to my office in a minute because he needs to go to work. So, Dave, we're in phase 1, but there's many more phases to go, aren't there?
Yeah, and I touched on it almost accidentally earlier on by saying it almost feels like the end, because for the past 4 months January the 1st has been the deadline. We aiming for January the 1st, when really it is just the beginning. We're at phase 1, where we will launch on January the 1st, whether we're ready or not, with whatever we've got.
It's going. It's going live.
Everything that we have on January the 1st is going to be there for you. And the key thing is January the 2nd, January the 3rd, we're just going to be still here ploughing away in the background. And it'll be phase 1. It'll be the first version that you see. But we do have ambitious plans for 2014 and 15 and 16. But
we can't give too much away, but to give you some of the ideas of what's going to be going on is that there will be premium membership for the site. There will be all the advanced guides which we've identified and need to add into UnderstandingE. We've also got the developer level guides as well. This is where I really do put my nerd hat on, and I'll give you the code and I will show you how it works, and I'll give you the process behind this. So that could be stuff like importing data, dropping it off across a MySQL database, learning the API, have a look at developing some extensions as well, which is kind of a new area for me as well. So that's going to be a fun thing. But one of my, well, I might as well spill the beans right now, Dave, but you already know this, but my 2013, my New Year's resolution was to fail. And it took me almost a year to get to the stage where I could fail publicly. And the reason, you might be thinking, oh my God, Matt is nuts. And yeah, I am.
Yeah, I'm hoping this isn't something that's just going to come out now that I didn't know about.
Right, but I'm mad as cheese, and I'm proud to admit it. But if I'm failing at something, and again, this goes for you too, if you fail at something, don't take it badly. The reason being is because if you've failed at something, then you've been trying really, really hard. And there are going to be more failures than there are going to be successes. And again, some people are just wired for success. And for me, I need to fail lots to find out what works and what doesn't. And getting to my point, which is that 2014 for me personally is going to be a year of sharing. I'm just going to basically give it all away for it and see what happens. And UnderstandingE for me is one of those things which is about sharing the knowledge, everything which I've learned for the past 10 years. And in fact, the UnderstandingE system and the whole third generation is not actually for you or Dave. Actually, it was for me. It was for me like 7 years ago when I was running my own eBay business. I needed a system which could do this, and I needed it to be comprehensive. I needed it to be extensible. I needed it to just work. And UnderstandingE is what I needed 7 years ago, and this is me sharing. So, changing topic again. We've got some ultimate guides and a whole series of them coming out as well, haven't we, Dave?
Yeah, funnily enough, to sort of cut our teeth a little bit, we actually started on the ultimate guide to selling on Amazon, and we actually have quite a lot of that covered. This is like no holds barred, the ultimate guide. We will cover everything and anything that you need to know to sell on Amazon or to sell on eBay. And we have a few of these ultimate guides in the pipeline, which cover not just marketplaces but other things as well. And they will be on the premium side of the content.
Mm-hmm. But no long sales pages because they drive me nuts.
Oh yeah, there'll be no hard sales. By the time the ultimate guides are out, you'll know me and Matt. You'll know the content that we create, and hopefully you'll agree that it's pretty damn good.
Indeed.
You'll know what you're getting.
And one of the guys which I'm really looking forward to, which we need to reword a couple of them, which is because it went up by $5, a whole $5, so it went up by £3. Really annoying. But what we're going to be doing is showing you how to build a responsive Magento website on a ridiculously low budget of a shoestring budget of now $95. Which is basically a theme of Theme Forest. We'll show you how to get it installed, how to configure it. We'll look at payment gateways. We'll look at changing the theme itself, the whole shebang, shipping rules, and we'll show you how you can do it literally on a budget of $95. So if any of you which are listening to this right now, if you've had a quote for a Magento design, you're probably looking at $2,000. So that's about $3,000, $4,000. Yeah. And that's probably on the low end.
I've heard of people getting $5,000 to $10,000 quotes for Magento responsive websites.
Yeah, and it's probably fantastic value for money. But we think we can show you how to do it on a budget of just say £100. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to create as much value and bring in as much value to you as possible. And one of those things is that just after we go live is that we're going to do a 1-hour workshop where we show you how to install, configure Magento, and how to install M2E Pro and also the Grids extension as well. Don't want to say too much because that means I've got to commit to it. But ultimately take you from never installing Magento, just like basically a cut down version of UnderstandingE will take you from no knowledge to be able to list a product on Magento.
Yeah. So I mean, that's an insight. There's going to be, I'll say it now, Matt, just to make sure that we do it. There will be a webinar or a workshop, most likely in January, where we show you how to install, configure, and list to eBay using Magento in an hour or maybe an hour and a half.
Something like that.
Things go.
Yeah. If I can get it to around about 40 minutes so we can get some questions in.
Q&As in. Yeah,
we'll have to glaze over a few pieces, but it's perfectly possible. So,
and we also have something even more ridiculous, which Matt really wants to do. I'm not sure it's possible.
Totally possible.
But that just makes Matt say it is even more, which is great.
Yeah, I've run into problems with locations. It's just, at the moment, it's physically impossible, so I might have to tame it down a bit. But the higher numbers are certainly possible. So just to recap what we've been covered. We've covered our wins, we've done our failures and some of the funny things which have happened. We looked at the distractions and how some of the true natures have appeared with some of the people in our environment. And we covered how our confidence and experience, I think is probably the best word here, has been built up over the last couple of months. And we covered the one question which we've been asked the most, which is that how do you guys intend to make money? And we've also covered some of our plans for post-January. And ultimately what we're getting to is to say thank you to you for sharing our journey over the past couple of months. And a big note here, Dave, is that we're not going anywhere after January the 1st.
Yeah, I mean, you guys who are probably listening to this now are the ones who signed up to the forums maybe back in September or October, have been asking questions, you've been sending us emails, tweeting us on Twitter, and really it is just a case of saying thank you, because you have actually helped me. I'm not sure about Matt, but you helped me believe that this was all possible, because we didn't want to be in a stage where we were building this and then actually it turns out no one wanted it. But what it's actually been and shown is more people than I thought, and a totally different audience than what I thought wanted UnderstandingE. And that's how I say thank you for, like I said, you being active with us and talking to us. And yeah, like Matt said, we're going nowhere. Come January, we're still going to be here bothering you and talking to you, and we'll be in the forums asking you to talk to us and asking for feedback. And yeah, we're still going to be the guys who are visible and there to talk to you.
Indeed. So thank you, and please talk to us is what we're trying to say.
We need friends. How am I joking?
No, but please talk to us, because it's your feedback which will make UnderstandingE something not mediocre, but me and Dave can do the best we can. And we're not after something which is mediocre, and we're not after something which is just good. We're after something which is great. And to make something great, we need your help. And you can help us by just interacting with us. It could be a little post in the forums, could be a tweet on Twitter, or it could be a comprehensive guide to why you think one of the guys you've just watched is utter pants. And please be as constructive as possible. And let's wrap up there, Dave, and let's both say thank you. Thank you for listening to this.
And this has been one of the best podcasts I've ever done.
Indeed. So we'll see you soon. And in fact, we'll see you and you will see us on January the 1st. And we'll see you there.
Whether you've got a hangover or not.
Indeed. Cheerios.